Podcast Network Asia.
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
Welcome to the big time!
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
You know your damn role and shut your damn mouth.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I have to finish the story.
We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov, the star.
Bang! The sniper is shooting you down. This is TMDK's Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to the Wrestling Podcast.
You're listening to the longest-running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stan C, Ro Moran, Chino and Emile ASH checking in on the first week of July. It's episode number 601, and we are fresh off of Money in the Bank for this audio-only picks of the week episode. So, natural, meron mga matches from the Money in the Bank premium live event that will be featured in this episode. Speaking of PLEs, we got some business to take care of, a watch party that we want you to join us for, and that's going to be happening in about a month's time when WWE SummerSlam happens on August 6th, Sunday, Manila time at Skinny Mike's, and Rose got the rest of the details.
That's right. Skinny Mike's has asked us, before I even thought about asking them, if we wanted to do a watch party on SummerSlam on Sunday, August 6th. That's, syempre, as I mentioned, Sunday. Saturday in the US, syempre wala tayong pasok. You don't need to take a leave for this. I'm hoping that you guys make it a much better SummerSlam than SummerSlams past, because, you know, kind of had a bad experience for those things. But I think with so much going on, with the Triple H regime in full swing and people actually calling in Skinny Mikes and wondering if they're going to hold a SummerSlam watch party, this is the time. We're figuring out all the details. Wala pang ticket prices, wala pang ticket page rather as well. So we're just letting you know now that it is happening. It will be happening live. We will be using the WWE Network feed, so we will be hearing Stan C and Carlo Pamintuan calling the shots, calling everything in pure, maybe filtered Tagalog, because couldn't get them to do it unfiltered. But hey, if you've been missing that experience, I know that, you know, what we have now isn't the most ideal. So I think you guys will find that we have a great deal happening for you here. So again, stay tuned for all the deets. SummerSlam watch party at Skinny Mike Sports Bar in Bonifacio Global City, Sunday, August 6th.
All right. Thanks for that, Ro. We've also got our growing wrestling podcast patron community where nagkakabudulan na for the 4th of July sale on pro wrestling tees. Emile, let the people know how they can be part of this pasabay if it actually happens.
All right, so kung mangyari itong pasabay, you can join in on all the fun by subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/wrestling podcast, where you could subscribe for as low as $5 or in a local currency, or it's around 270, 260, 280 pesos, depending on the day. So like Stan said here, there's a 4th of July sale. So if you want to get in on that and get your authentic wrestling merch, you can do it through us. Also, last Sunday, we just had the Money in the Bank viewing party with the WWE Network feed and with the Tagalog commentary. So if you want to get in on it next time, you can subscribe to our Patreon and join in on our Discord, where you can also interact with your fellow podcast and talk to us about wrestling, sports, food, fashion, anything and everything under the sun. So, and you can also enjoy the weekly wrestling reviews that Rowen and Ro here, they put all the effort in providing those review contents for y'all. So for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Collision, Dynamite, and some local MWF action as well, courtesy of Rowen. And by subscribing to our Patreon, you're supporting everything that we do here on the pod. So again, please subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/wrestling podcast.
All right, thanks, Emil. Let's get to our picks of the week. All 5 of us have left our picks for the 4 of us on the call to talk about. We're going to start with Chino's, and it's a fun little video that WWE put up on its YouTube channel as part of the WWE Playback series.
Right. So my pick is first chronologically and pretty much historically as well, by at least 25 years. It's The Undertaker and Mick Foley talking about the iconic Hell in a Cell match from King of the Ring 96, where The Undertaker basically yeets Mick Foley as Mankind off the Hell in a Cell.
Okay, it's 98, 25th anniversary. So
Sorry,
98.
pali yung math ko. 1998. With basically that particular Hell in a Cell match, regardless of what year I said, is an entry point for everybody for anybody really who wants to learn more about the Attitude Era. Even si Emil told me that he was 2 months old when this actually happened, pero he knows about Mick Foley flying off the top of the Hell in a Cell. So it's nice to see, first of all, na buhay pa sila pareho after such a hellacious match, but also hear old men talk about what they were going through 25 years ago. Nakakita mo yung insight ni Mick Foley with what he wanted to do throughout the entire match, and how The Undertaker basically didn't want to do anymore after that hellacious spot, that brutal fall from the top of the cage. Pero si Mick Foley, dahil matigas ulo niya, he still wanted to go through tax. He still wanted to go through the cage with that choke slam. So dun mo makikita this level of craziness, the dedication that Mick has for the business, and what The Undertaker was willing to do to sell and put over his character in the process. It's such a great insight. It's a little longer than a lot of the picks we've had in the past, but it's a great insight into this particular point of wrestling history.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys listen to Mick Foley's podcast with, I believe he does it with Conrad Thompson. He goes, syempre, because it's a podcast, he goes a lot more in depth of these things. And if you're a Mankind fan, if you're a Mick Foley fan at all, if you like what he did, I suggest you go into it, because he is one of the better talkers. He's one of the better guys that, Conrad Thompson has in his little universe there. And to Chino's point about how Mick, went through with the crazy high spots, he kind of admits kasi na he didn't really have much going for him. That's his thing. He is pretty self-deprecating, and he says na he has a lot of weaknesses and not a lot of strength. So whatever he doesn't have, he makes up for it with the sheer gumption of putting his body through hell. So if you want to learn more about, the Attitude Era, especially Emil and the younger people listening to this episode here, I suggest you guys go check that out, because it's a really, really good listen. One of the better offerings of his of Thompson's universe. So it's just funny because he's so self-aware about that. And as a wrestler personally, I don't suggest that anyone wrestling follow that. Like, yes, we're all hurting ourselves out there, but let's not hurt ourselves to that degree just for the pop. Like, yes, it's amazing, it's incredible, it's pretty fucking awesome at some points, but there has to be some restraint. I think there has to be a little more awareness. If you can't really wrestle straight up, then maybe you gotta think twice about the business. But I'm digressing here, and Mick is not a hardcore legend for nothing. It's just really crazy that all those years ago he decided that it was a good idea to immortalize himself that way.
Yeah, I was watching the video where sila ni Undertaker, they were actually doing their own little commentary on the match. And I love how WWE decided to do this. I guess it helps na retired na sila pareho, that it's been 25 years. But it says a lot then about how far this match has come into yung awareness ng wrestling fans, na pag nagkukwento si Mick Foley particularly, he'll tell people na, oh yeah, that's the first thing that they mention whenever they see him anywhere. I don't recall mentioning that to him when I met him at WrestleCon, but I'd like to think that everyone else in line who met him that day probably talked his ear off about that moment. So I guess it tells you that it really spoke to a lot of fans. It really got etched into their memories. That particular shot of Mankind's body falling off and then landing onto the announce table, way before I watched the match in full, napanood ko na siya because of the Don't Try This at Home montage that they kept airing during the Ruthless Aggression era. So if you're an RA era baby like Ro or myself, you know that particular clip that they included in that little warning, right? So that's why I was aware of the sheer dangers of being a wrestler. So it's nice that they got to do that. I'd like to imagine that there will be a day when the Philippine wrestling scene could have some sort of video where it doesn't have to be a crazy match where someone gets thrown off a cell 17 feet up, diba? It's just,
I can think of a few spots.
Oh God. But you know, a 25-year retrospective of people we actually respect and can learn from, and not just stupid idiots who do things for their own.
Who try to jump off balconies in malls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Basically, sana naman yung mga respected legends of the industry, yung mga pwede mong kapulutan ng aral. So, yun, that's what I'd like to see from the scene. Ikaw, Emil, what are your takeaways from that video?
Again, that match was basically my introduction to Mick Foley kasi I became a fan around 10 years or 11 years ago, and I kept seeing that footage of him falling off Hell in a Cell. And yun yung intro ko sa Attitude Era and with Mick Foley. And I think this match really legitimized the Hell in a Cell Hell in a Cell gimmick match, because I think this was the second one, and because of how iconic that moment was, that stipulation or that gimmick has pretty much stuck until to this day. Like we're still getting Hell in a Cell, and we got it as a pay-per-view even every year for the last 10 years or so. So it was a legendary event in wrestling history. Now, even though you were a fan then, or you just became a fan now, you'll always know that moment. You'll always you have seen that moment, Mick Foley falling off from the top of the cell.
Yeah, sabi nga ni Sorry, go ahead. Just jump right in. Sabi nga ni Mick Foley, diba, if you weren't a wrestling fan back then, that would be the first match wrestling fans would actually show you. Diba? They throw around the F word a bit and say, hindi naman totoo yan. And then they show them Mick Foley jumping, being yeeted off the cage. It's insane, but it's hard to believe. Even the audience at the time, they didn't know what they were watching. So that was the impact of this match.
I gotta say, it's this match, pati yung video games, that really ruined Hell in a Cell matches for me, because of those, I expected all Hell in a Cell matches to be like that. I expected na lahat
sila may nahuhulog.
Akit sa roof. Akit sa roof, lalabas ng cell. Diba? Because you can do that in the video games. Diba? That was commonplace in the video games. Like,
I used to do that in the video games a lot, so yes.
Yeah. Parang wala lang, normal back bump lang yun sa video games.
And then paunahan pa kayo butasin yung cage.
Yeah,
diba?
I thought everyone had to go up, climb the roof, diba? And then, and then when you get to the actual proliferation of Hell in a Cell matches in the past decade or so, and then you saw that they're all in the ring and then they're all pretty tame. Kind of ruins it for you, and that's kind of why that I'm also over Hell in a Cell as a pay-per-view theme. So I don't know if it's the same way for you guys, but I always thought, obviously for all the wrong reasons now, but I always thought that the Mankind versus Undertaker Hell in a Cell was the standard for all Hells in a Cell.
Yeah, certainly the later Hell in a Cell matches have one giant blob of just ambiguity, diba? Na parang hindi mo na siya ma-differentiate because of how unspecial they were treated. But these first two Hell in a Cell matches, Shawn Michaels versus Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, and then The Undertaker versus Mankind, are the two standouts in the history of this match. And I'm glad that they did something for the second match. Sana meron din yung first one, because that was a lot more memorable for me. But this second match still serves.
Pero yung first was the Kane debut.
Yeah, kaya nga. So sana nga meron nga silang like a 25-year special for that. However long ago that was, is what I'm saying. Diba? But the second one, still deserving of its own sort of recognition.
All right, so that's our first pick of the week, and that is the WWE Playback episode on their YouTube channel featuring The Undertaker and Mick Foley, commemorating their King of the Ring 1998 Hell in a Cell match. Next up, you've got Ro with his pick of the week from this past weekend and the AEW Collision episode that aired last Sunday.
Yes, sir. Of all the things that happened over the week, I had to settle on the pretty hot Owen Hart Cup tournament thing that they got going on. And the main event of this week's, or last week's Collision rather, is Samoa Joe versus Roderick Strong. And for one thing, it's not a tag team match with CM Punk anymore, so that's good. But CM Punk was commentating on the match. It was a good way to use him, I think, because they didn't really want to risk the Canadian crowd still turning on him, which is, I think, is a good move din naman. Okay din siya because it allowed him an opportunity to add a little more storytelling to his what we know now is his upcoming semifinals match with Samoa Joe, his historic rival from his old Ring of Honor days before he went to the WWE. So that was pretty cool. For those who kind of get the gravitas of this particular story, it's pretty cool. For those who don't, I think it was a good way to introduce it because he was talking about it a lot, although not in the best way he could because parang medyo kenko yung pagka color commentary niya dun sa ongoing match between Samoa Joe and Roddy. But still, it's a pretty cool thing for us who had grown up in the late or to the mid to late 2000s, way before Punk was in the WWE, or even when you were just downloading Ring of Honor shows in what CD website that you could find. So that's pretty cool. As for the match itself, really good stuff. I really enjoy watching Samoa Joe do his thing and Roderick Strong doing his thing. Admittedly, it's not like the most outstanding match of all the things that happened, all the shows that happened over the week, but it was just a match between two guys that I really liked, which I hope some of you like as well. And they just showed the world how it's done. And I enjoy watching a babyface Roderick Strong and a heel Samoa Joe, and those things just lined up perfectly to give me a match that someone like myself will enjoy.
Yeah,
Yes.
I really liked how simple it was in the sense na they tried to tell the story of Roderick Strong doing everything he could to lift Joe up for the backbreaker and the Olympic slam, and how hirap na hirap siya all throughout the match, and then he had to get crafty to eventually do it. And when he did do it, sa sobrang thick ni Joe, all 280 pounds came crashing down on his knee, and then that also disoriented him. And then how eventually na trap si Roddy in the coquina clutch, and he went night-night. So I really like that how simple it was in terms of the storytelling, and I really appreciated it. So it was a fun TV main event for AEW Collision.
Also, Ro talked about the throwback to ROH days. What about the throwback to the Impact days, diba? Nung TNA pa sila pareho, they got to mix it up once or twice in Impact, and I got a lot of that in this matchup, diba? The parang Roderick Strong being the super athlete and Samoa Joe being just the bruiser that he was. Very reminiscent. And also, it just shows how much they've evolved since then. Nang tagal na nung panahon na lumipas, they're still both at their prime, and they both mix it up more than once, but they're able to, to put a fresh spin on things. So I really like that a lot from this matchup.
Again, also, I love this match. Kung kayo, you see them in ROH and Impact. For me, both nakita ko na sila in NXT, in WWE, both of these guys. So it was a hard hitting match. I mean, Roderick Strong is one of my favorite wrestlers to watch. So every time he has a match, I'd always make sure to tune in. And I like the storytelling throughout the match. Now he can't take Joe down, and then it was just too much for him to handle Joe. And we're gonna get CM Punk versus Samoa Joe, which is for me. I've been a fan of wrestling for over 10 years now, and this match was always when I read about stuff about the indies, about the mid 2000s, these two were always interconnected with each other. So now I can't believe I will get to see it. I'll get to see them go 1-on-1 in the semifinals of the Owen Hart tournament.
Yeah, the one thing I would have wanted to see was MJF coming down and calling Roderick Strong a generic white guy again. But we can probably get that on Dynamite next week. All right. Let's close out the first half with my pick of the week, which was the Lil Uzi Vert single that he dropped on Friday. It's entitled Nakamura, and from the opening seconds palang, you'll already hear that it clearly samples Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance theme in the WWE. And I love how Lil Uzi Vert himself sings it. He sings the hook, kind of like how we fans would sing Nakamura's song if he were to ever, if you were to ever watch him perform live. It's basically a love letter to his fandom of professional wrestling, and it's not very often we get crossovers like these, especially with hip hop. I mean, sure, you've got Ric Flair drip, the odd Bad Bunny crossover. Ano pa ba? Like those are really the only ones I can think of, diba?
Wyclef and The Rock. They did a
Wale.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Wale, Wyclef, and The Rock. That's right. I remember those, diba? It's very rare.
The Rock and Tech Nine. Yun.
Yes. Straight Out the Gate was the name of that song.
Yeah.
There.
Face Off.
Sorry,
Face Off.
Face Off pala, Face Off. Thank you. It's very rare that you have these crossovers. And for this to exist in the year of our Lord 2023 just made me really happy. It actually took me back to my days at Wave when I kept spamming Ric Flair drip on the radio just so I could say woo on the mic. And if I were on the radio today, I would probably be playing this song ad nauseum. So I really enjoy this song. If I were still working out at the gym, I'd probably be putting it on my gym playlist. So the only thing I want now is to see Lil Uzi Vert actually perform this for Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania or any PLE for that matter.
Yeah,
Right.
Definitely. So ano to, dinrelease to actually like noon no Friday. So I saw some people people on Twitter referencing it, and then doon ko nakita agad na may kanta siya na sinample yung theme song ni Nakamura, and the first note I immediately fell in love with it, and I kept playing it throughout that afternoon. I played it on the loop for almost an hour. Kasi I'm not really a fan of Lil Uzi Vert, but now maybe I am because of that song, and I'll get to discover his music a little bit more because of it. So again, same hope here na maybe at WrestleMania next year, since Lil Uzi Vert is from Philly, he'll perform this song when Shinsuke Nakamura is making his way down to the ring.
Yeah, same. I'm not the biggest fan of Lil Uzi Vert or like mumble rap in general, but I do appreciate the occasional throwback to WWE, diba? To pro wrestling as a whole. So I like how they're able to pull this off. Tsaka it just speaks to the gravitas that a star like Uzi has, because he's able to take an obscure wrestling theme na fans lang nakakaalam and sample it and use it for an actual single that he puts out into the world, diba? It's something that not a lot of people can pull off, but siya na pull off niya, and it allows Shinsuke Nakamura to follow up his appearance on the Japanese version of the Pharrell video.
Yeah,
so there's another call out to a mixtape right there. So congrats to Uzi, congrats to Shin, and yeah, go enjoy the song, man.
All right. So, as the biggest hip hop fan in the room, I actually didn't think this was that great. At first, the way Lil Uzi's production sampled it was super lazy to me. Like, okay, they took the song and then they just threw on a quick beat, and then they threw on his vocals on it. That's it. Because I appreciate hip hop beats that have a lot more production built into them. Like I would have loved this a lot better if it were chopped and screwed a little bit. That was really made it into a different sounding hip hop beat that still has the elements that you're familiar with. Maybe the lines of melody that you're familiar with, but still sounds different. As it stands, because they just really took this and then layered everything on top of it. Pero buti na lang, first Uzi started singing the melody on it, which is always great. See, Kaz likened it to a emo metal screamo, Skrillex kind of sounding thing that actually does kind of work. I say little Uzi can sing. And then he started rapping on it, which was pretty good. I started getting into it. They added some hip hop drums to it, which is always good. Never fails to elevate. Never fails to actually make a good hip hop beat. So that saved it for me. But had it been anything else, I didn't think it would have been that outstanding compared to other hip hop productions and collaborations. But good stuff. Like Chino said, it's a good thing for Uzi to bring a song that not obscure, but it's not crossover hit levels just yet until now, because a mainstream artist like Uzi sampled it for a song. As far as being a hit single that you hear on the radio, I'm not sure. Because as it stands, it feels like fan service to fellow wrestling fans. So I don't know how far that's gonna get him. I hope it does get him far, because syempre, it's a good song. He's got good flows on it. So there is a possibility that this becomes a real hit for him. But I guess that's the challenge for the rest of you. Like, I know not a lot of you guys listening to this maybe hip hop fans like some of us are. So you may be wondering, who's this little Uzi Vert guy anyway? So you probably don't know that all his friends are dead, or stuff like that. So
Wow.
You don't know the reference? Somebody.
Chino.
Yeah.
Mapapa hello fellow kids tuloy si Chino.
Yun nga. So there's that thing. There are both. There are two sides of Uzi Vert that might not appreciate this, so we're kind of stuck in this weird limbo. So if you want this to be a big hit, if you want the Nakamura theme song to be a big hit, spread the word. Make a big deal out of the fact that a rapper like Lil Uzi Vert sampled this pretty awesome theme song. So yun yung challenge ko for you guys.
Yeah, shout out to my broadcast partner, Carlo Pamintuan, for letting me get the first word in when Shinsuke made his entrance at Money in the Bank, because I could say right away that the Lil Uzi Vert thing happened. So I was glad that I was able to stick it into commentary then, and now it lives on forever in the Tagalog audio track of the Money in the Bank PLE on the network. So there. All right, speaking of Money in the Bank, the actual PLE, we've got two picks from that very show, and we're going to talk about them after this quick break. And we're back with our picks of the week. Let's start with Rowen's. And, as he's not here, I'm going to go through some of his points. He picked the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, which Damian Priest won. So now he is Senior Money in the Bank. Sabi ni Rowen, he thought he would be really pissed seeing Logan Paul in the match, but he was actually entertained. He came away sports entertained, just like Logan Paul's other matches. And he realized that Logan Paul's presence can convert non-wrestling fans to be wrestling fans. Yes, Rowen, that is kind of the point.
So it took him like 4 Logan Paul appearances to realize that, this mainstream star who makes videos for 14-year-old girls can actually pull in 14-year-old girls.
Yeah. That's kind of the point kung bakit siya nasa WWE, right? He also says that his favorite part of the match was the Spanish fly spot by Ricochet and Logan Paul. I'm just going to say that watching it in the moment, I think all of us were afraid for the safety of these two guys, regardless of how you feel about Logan Paul. But the fact that they were able to find their footing despite them shaking on the ropes and na-execute pa nila yung Spanish fly, and that it looked great as they landed on the tables, even though only one of them really gave way, is a testament to the core work, the stability, and I guess the athleticism of both Ricochet and Logan Paul. Rowen adds that he appreciates how every single wrestler in the match put on a great showing, and sabi ni Rowen, when LA Knight didn't win, he wasn't really disappointed because he expected it, and he had the feeling that kung sino man yung favorite, then they're most likely going to lose. So there. What are your thoughts on Damian Priest winning Money in the Bank here?
Are we going to get into it now?
No.
Pwede naman.
I thought we were going to wait for the...
Sige, let's save it for the live stream then. Let's talk about the actual match.
Because I didn't really want to get into it now. But I mean, I like the match. We're talking about the match itself. I found it very, very entertaining. Actually, surprised. See, Logan Paul knows his role in terms of something from The Rock, knows his role in terms of what he can do in the ring and what he's supposed to do in the match, diba? And then he played those spots out perfectly. So, hindi ko rin alam kung gaano katagal before he starts thinking, hey, hold on, I'm bringing in all this money and di pa ako nananalo once in my entire run here. What gives, diba? So, but until that happens, though, I'm gonna enjoy Logan Paul for what he is, and he's a spot fest and a celebrity at that. So, all in all, the match was pretty entertaining.
Isa sa mga napansin ko while watching this match is that the ladders on this match have no gives whatsoever. Because they did several spots where I think the ladder was supposed to break, pero it didn't break. So the splash that Logan Paul did on, I think that was Damien Priest, just outside of the ring, and then when Priest I think pushed Butch off the top of the ladder, I think yung ladder na naka-lean doon was supposed to break. So the ladder was so stiff in this match. And again,
you're a worker. You shouldn't work.
Yeah, but it was a great showcase of all. I just realized na wala pang world champion dito sa pool of the wrestlers who competed in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and I think stars were made. Honestly, like LA Knight especially, like because he was so over. Like everything he does, the crowd were into it. So this was, I think, a star-making performance for one LA Knight.
Yeah. I'm not gonna dispute anything. I as a wrestler, I'm gonna be the last person to invalidate any of the guys' efforts there. Because it's a ladder match, and that shit requires actual commitment. Because if you half-ass it, it's gonna look bad and you're gonna get hurt. But as a fan, I don't know if I was just, not feeling it, but I wasn't feeling it. Not because it wasn't good, but because it didn't really do anything for me, for it to stand out to me. Logan Paul is great, pero alam mo yung Logan Paul was, yun nga, as Chino said, he knew his role, and because of that, parang okay, he didn't really bring anything different to a Money in the Bank ladder match. So he was there to do what was expected of him, because we already saw that he was a high flyer before. Same with Ricochet, those guys. So nobody really brought anything new to it. I felt like the women's Money in the Bank ladder match was a little more innovative there. So it's not that it was bad. I just didn't think it was mind blowing. But I can see why Rowen picked it, because it was fun. I mean, it's hard for a ladder match to not be fun, especially when there are this many guys in it. For me, lang, it's just that because I've already seen this match over and over, I wanted something different from it, and I didn't really get anything different from it. Yun lang.
I mean, other than what we saw in the women's match, which we'll talk about shortly, I kind of find it hard to predict or to innovate further. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
what else can you do? What else can you think
it's not
of?
their fault. It's really not their fault. It's no one's fault.
I still enjoy the Money in the Bank ladder match for what it is, regardless kung men's or women's. I just love it. I love the spectacle every year. And the fact that we get two every year is great, kasi it's always a good excuse to put one of them as the opener. Kasi that's how you get the crowd riled up, diba? So, yun din, masaya din whenever you've got...
they've been doing for quite some time.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want that to change either. Kasi yun yung allure ng event, diba? The fact that you've got at least one of the Money in the Bank ladder matches opening the show already. And that's how you set the tone for the rest of the night. Or in our case, working the show live from the Philippines at 3 a.m., at least gising pa kami heading into like the second half of the show. So I really appreciated the placement of this match at the top of the show, and how the car crash just really hyped us all up with adrenaline in our souls. So there. Let's segue into the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which is Emile's pick.
Right, so my pick of the week goes out to the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. And I am mainly picking this match because of the finish. Kasi it's one of the most clever finishes I've ever seen in a Money in the Bank ladder match with Io Sky.
That's what I'm saying.
She handcuffed Bailey and Becky together, and she was able to climb up and get the briefcase. And
she even climbed over one of them, diba? She climbed over Bailey.
Oh.
Bailey. Tumungtong pa siya sa likod ni Bailey.
I mean, you were talking about, Sam was talking about, Rhea stepping on him. Somebody actually stepped on someone.
Yes.
A woman actually stepped on another person here.
Yes.
Girl on girl stepping happening.
And,
I appreciate that. Yes.
And I'm glad that she got to win kasi even before I was predicting Io Sky win, and she deserves it naman. She deserves a main event push. And I think now is the time for it, considering the dissension between Damage Control is happening. So soon enough, she's gonna be the top babyface, I think, in the women's division. And I like na yung nilagay nila dito were 6 veterans. Like compared before, kasi dati they would put younger women's wrestlers in the Money in the Bank match, but dito all 6 of them were, well, sabi mo, they've been in the business for a long time. They know how to really pull off a Money in the Bank ladder match, in my opinion.
They may be all veterans, but one person was having their first ever ladder match. In the match.
It was Trish. But all in all, it was. I think this one was much better than the previous women's Money in the Bank ladder matches.
Yeah, no, I wanted to get into that because I mentioned kanina that I thought the women's match was a little more innovative, and the fact that they introduced a handcuff and introduced some BDSM elements there, that to me was, why couldn't the men think of something like this? Kasi
magtatapakan din sila.
I mean, yung may element na may handcuff, it's something different. It's not.
They
illegal,
did have the cricket
also,
bat though, so
yeah, but that was the cricket. That's just a UK themed weapon.
No, you know what? I have a hypothesis for this. Because the women's Money in the Bank participants had integrated storylines coming out of the ladder match, heading into it.
Yes.
As opposed to the men, they were all just lumped in there.
Yeah.
Siguro si Damien Priest na may pinaka-story, diba? With Finn Balor, who's not in the match, diba? So I figure mas natural yung pag-introduce ng handcuff as a prop because you have all of these teams and factions working together and against one another.
No, but not just that. I felt like, to the point that you mentioned, I felt like they did that because naturally, and I don't mean this terribly, I don't mean this as to disparage the women, but the women are going to be a little more limited when it comes to the things they can do. So parang feeling ko, and this is just me spitballing, but they might have emphasized the storytelling more, the stories more heading into the ladder match to, give them something to, give us, the crowd, something more to sink our teeth into, diba? So I don't know if I'm turning into Paul London here, but I really did appreciate that a lot more. I felt like kasi parang hinayaan yung men na idaan sa car crash, diba? Which I mean, the women's match was also a car crash, but there were beats about it that I could appreciate more because I was able to grasp them, and it tickled my brain in a way that the men's match just did not. And I'm not saying, and I wish it did, but it just did not. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And
I was a lot more invested in the women's match, particularly because of all the storylines coming into it. Saan kasi because it is the WWE, you go into it with the understanding that because it's a pay-per-view, a lot of the storylines come to head at the pay-per-view, right?
Yes.
So that's essentially a crucial plot point in the WWE structure. So even their placement on the card, diba, near the end of the match, or the end, yung placement on the pay-per-view card, just goes to show how much importance they're placing in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. So sa akin, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just on my end, pero mas na-appreciate ko to on the part of the ladies. Diba? And I get it, yes, they weren't able to do as big a spectacle as Ro might be wanting. Pero I enjoyed it for what it was in that moment. About the stories that they were able to tell, the finish that happened, which was entertaining. It was pretty good for me. Better.
No, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys. I agree na mas madaling ma-invest into the women's match just because of the story beats alone. The fact that all of them had histories with one another, kung hindi man histories, like something is currently going on with them, either within teams or against other people na kalaban nila as a team. It really was something that you could easily understand, especially if you've been watching the last month or two of WWE programming. So you're right. Hindi siya tulad nung men's where the allure of the MacGuffin itself is the main attracting point, diba? With the women, you actually have the story and the contract as a way to hook you in.
No, for the men, it was the allure of the physical feats that they could do, diba? What I liked about this was what Emile cited was the finish, because it made me feel things. And okay, wow, this is cool. They did. I've never seen that before in a Money in the Bank match. These two women handcuffed to each other underneath the ladder, and that tickled my brain in a way that the men did not. So that was pretty cool. And someone different than someone you don't really expect winning the whole thing won it. So that was another cherry on top of it as well. So I think well done. I don't know if a lot of other people feel the same way. I don't even know if the men in the ladder match felt the same way, but I did think that they were subtly outshined by the women.
Yeah, not that anyone should mind. I mean, I don't mind. It's great that the women's Money in the Bank ladder match is getting this much love from us here on the podcast, and I'm hoping that they get as much love from everyone else who's talking about the premium live event and all the matches that came through it, diba? If you want to know our thoughts on Damian Priest and Io Sky being Mr. and Miss Money in the Bank, let us know by joining us on the live stream on Thursday, 7 p.m. on Facebook and on YouTube. But if you can't wait for Thursday, you want to send us your thoughts now, pwede rin. TikTok and Twitter. It's at Wrestling2XPod. Send everything over there. We'll catch you on Thursday for the live stream. Until then, if you want to chit-chat with us individually, it is at EML_Meister, at Monday Night Rowen, at Chino Supersized, at Rowiswar, and at _Stan C. Thank you very much to all of the babyface producers over at Podcast Network Asia for all of the work that they do behind the scenes. And on behalf of Chino Liao, Emile ASH, Ro Moran, my name is Stan C. See you on Thursday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and don't be a dick, all right? Wrestling Podcast out. Bye-bye.
Peace.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.